Silence is terrifying to people who survive by controlling conversations. The moment you stop reacting, stop explaining, stop defending yourself, you take your power back. And psychologically, that changes everything. Most people think power comes from speaking louder, but psychology says real power often comes from emotional control. That's why calm people intimidate emotional manipulators, because manipulators feed on reactions. They want anger, begging, fear, confusion, anything that proves they still affect you emotionally. But silence breaks that cycle. When you stop reacting instantly, people are forced to face themselves instead of controlling your emotions. And many can't handle that. This is why emotionally intelligent people pause before responding. Not because they're weak, because they understand something most people don't. Every reaction is energy, and not everyone deserves access to yours. Psychologists explain that silence creates psychological uncertainty. Humans naturally try to fill emotional gaps. So when someone expects an argument and receives calmness instead, their brain becomes uncomfortable. That's why silence often bothers toxic people more than confrontation. They can fight anger, they can manipulate words, but they struggle against emotional detachment. And notice this carefully. The people who become furious when you stay calm are often the same people who benefited from your emotional instability. Because once you control your emotions, they lose control over you. That's powerful. But silence isn't only about other people. Sometimes silence reveals truths about ourselves. Many people stay surrounded by noise because they're afraid of being alone with their thoughts. That's why distractions are addictive. Music, scrolling, constant conversations, temporary attention. Because silence forces self-awareness. And self-awareness can be painful. It exposes the emotions we try to escape. The loneliness, the insecurity, the fear of not being enough. But psychology says healing begins when avoidance ends. The people who grow the most are usually the ones willing to sit alone and understand themselves deeply. And here's something most people never realize. Not every situation deserves a response. Maturity is recognizing when explaining yourself is a waste of energy. Some people misunderstand you intentionally, not because they're confused, but because misunderstanding you benefits them. And no amount of explaining can change someone committed to seeing you negatively. So stop exhausting yourself trying to convince people to respect you. The right people won't require endless explanations. Your energy is valuable. Protect it. Another psychological truth is this. Silence often reveals who truly cares. Because when you stop initiating conversations, chasing people, or constantly checking on others, you quickly discover who only enjoyed your effort. That realization hurts, but it also frees you, because attention is not the same as connection. Some people enjoy being wanted more than they enjoy genuinely caring. And once you realize that, you stop begging for bare minimum attention. You stop forcing relationships that drain you. You stop chasing people who only remember you when they need something. And slowly, your mind becomes peaceful again. Because peace is expensive psychologically. You lose fake connections to protect it. You disappoint people to maintain it. You walk away from chaos to preserve it. But once you experience real inner peace, temporary validation no longer impresses you. Psychology teaches us that silence is not emptiness. Sometimes silence is self-respect. Sometimes silence is healing. And sometimes silence is the loudest proof that you finally outgrew what once controlled you.